If you've paid attention to my channel for a while, at least the last few months, you'll notice that I'm interested in antitrust cases. I'm interested in the government doing its job in preventing entities from acquiring others that will stifle competition, create less innovation, and ultimately punish consumers. Now, that's a big deal to me. We'll see if it's a big deal to you, but we were promised something, at least told something was going to happen. Now, setting politics aside, because we have to for this story, we were told early on, going back a few years now, that one of the primary goals of this administration was to stop monopolistic practices by big tech and big entertainment. The question is, can they actually do it? Well, enter the crack team of the Biden administration and their efforts so far to date and how effective they've been. And I have to say, little progress has been made, but I have a story from The Wrap that will break that down even further. I also have a story from the VIP platform over at Variety that will help break it down to the point where we can assume nothing's happening. But here we go. Let's start with this headline. Will Biden's antitrust team slow the media merger frenzy? Well, we already know the answer to that because it's been going bananas even after this story was published back on January 24th. This story originally ran over at The Wrap, although I found it elsewhere. I usually find other stories about these entities in lots of other places because The Wrap tries to paywall 50% of whatever they put out there. But hey, that's not why I'm here. I'm not here to complain about the government or The Wrap or anything else. I'm here to talk about antitrust. So let's go. I'll believe it when I see it, says Matt Belinsky, a tech and media focused attorney at Weinberg Gosner LLP. At least that's what he told The Wrap. There are too many lanes where the Biden administration has suggested more intrusive government action or roll back the more permissive approach over the past decade. And this is actually pretty true. But they seem to be taking their precious time in actually implementing or taking any serious policy position. And as you can see, there's a lot of deals here. If you look at the little graphic that's below those pictures, you have CAA ICM Partners merger, you have the Amazon, of course, acquisition of MGM, and you have the Warner Media Discovery merger, which we know is on pace to actually happen. So far, not a good track record. We'll keep going. Last week, the Justice Department's Antitrust Division and the Federal Trade Commission launched a joint public inquiry aimed at strengthening enforcement against illegal mergers. It's a signal that the federal regulators dealing with an M&A surge across multiple industries are going to take a tougher stance on consolidation. We're going to look at some numbers here in just a moment that will indicate that actually the biggest part of that seems to be over. Now it's like picking up the pieces and maybe investing in larger entities rather than multiple entities. But again, we'll take a look at that in a moment. Evidence suggests that decades of mergers have been a key driver of consolidation across industries, with the latest merger wave threatening to concentrate our markets further yet, FTC chairperson Linda Kahn said during a press conference. And she continues. While the current merger boom has delivered massive fees for investment banks, evidence suggests that many Americans historically have lost out, with diminished opportunity, higher prices, lower wages, and lagging innovation, all of the things that, basically destroy consumer value. They put you in a position where you get far less of far lower quality at a far higher price, which, believe me, American consumers are frustrated with. And, or American customers, probably the right way to say that. But so far, none of this seems to have done anything. In fact, later in the article, we hear from Diana Moss, who's the president of a nonprofit advocacy group called American Antitrust Institute. She says it's been long past time for the two government agencies to not just rubber stamp deals. What we see from the Biden enforcers is a lot of signaling that they are willing to be more aggressive. They are willing to take that risk that is necessary to get stronger enforcement and start unwinding the damage from 40 years of consolidation. I could not agree more. Moss also challenged the current practice of having two agencies split up which mergers are reviewed. I don't like that either. For example, the Justice Department is leading the review on the Discovery and Warner Media's $43 billion deal, like I said, which is likely to happen, as well as CAA's acquisition of ICM Partners, while the FTC is reviewing Amazon's $8 billion takeover of MGM. She says, these deals are going to be cleared through different agencies, Moss said. Splitting up the supply chain by sending different mergers to a different agency for review runs the risk of not having a sector-wide coherent enforcement policy, which I agree. That is vitally important because of how much consolidation there has been. And you know what? She's not wrong. Moving on to our next story, of course, is the important one. Well, no, not really. It's the fact that Biden's antitrust team talks its way to a win. Going back 6 months before the last story, in July of 2021, Aon essentially abandoned their potential $30 billion deal, essentially a takeover rather than a merger, of their rival insurance company, Willis Towers Watson. This deal hit the brakes primarily because the lawsuit kept dragging on from the Justice Department, which essentially created a untenable situation for Aon. So they just walked away. And I think that's a good thing overall for all of us, because limiting the number of insurers would have increased our premiums. That would have made them more profits. But again, consumer cost would have been suffered, as it has been every single time one of these megacorps merges with another megacorp. But at least that showed some motion, or it frustrated them enough that they just walked away from the table. But to date, there hasn't been any real enforcement. But what is really happening actually is explained rather well in this article from the Variety Intelligence platform over on the Variety Trade Magazine site. Why 2022 might disappoint big tech antitrust crusaders. And boy, is it going to disappoint us. And they did not bury the headline, folks. It's right out there. We're going to look at the 3 bullet points they have, and I could not agree with them more. A look at the status of numerous probes the DOJ and FTC have going targeting Silicon Valley giants. That's what we're looking at. The latest data on how much Meta, Amazon, and Alphabet are increasing spending on lobbying efforts, which is interesting. And potentially delaying antitrust legislative efforts is the midterm elections, which are coming up, which could cause regulation favoring Democrats to lose control of either house of Congress. I don't think that's the way that should have been stated. Both of them are interested in legislating antitrust stuff. They just want to do it for different reasons, which I think they admit later in the article, but we'll get there. Here we go. Big tech antitrust enforcement efforts have been gaining momentum since the House Antitrust Subcommittee in October 2020 released its landmark report that wrapped up a 16-month investigation into the market power of Amazon, Apple, Facebook, which is now Meta, and Alphabet, which they call Google here. Since then, Biden has taken office, of course, and appointed an anti-monopoly advocate like Lena Khan and Jonathan Cantor as FTC chair and head of the DOJ's antitrust division. Again, why these two things are not working in concert to solve these issues is a problem. Again, called out by the watchdog advocate that we looked at just a few moments ago. In January, an antitrust bill that would forbid big tech players from favoring their own products over competitors was approved by the Senate committee. States attorneys general have also moved to sue big tech players for stifling competition, and they've been successful. We've seen a lot of that recently. We've also seen some big pharma cases as well, but that's not on the table today. So it's no wonder why some see real change on the horizon, including Bhaskar Chakravarti, Dean of Global Business at Tufts University's Fletcher School. He told MarketWatch in late December that 2022 was shaping up to be the year of tech takedown, for example. Well, as you'll find out, may not necessarily be the case. We'll skip down a ways and talk about the actual things that are going on right now. Google, the DOJ investigation into their revenue from its dominant ad business to cut deals to make itself the default on all platforms, shutting out any competitors. That goes back to October 2020. For Apple in June 2019, they were looking into whether Apple is abusing its power in the app marketplace. We already know that's true, and they're But yeah, obviously you have the Epic thing going on there in the background as well. And of course, Meta, they have three things from the FTC. In June 2020, they were being looked at because of their Jiffy acquisition. Some European entities required them to reverse that, by the way, just FYI. December 2020, Facebook has maintained a social media monopoly through anti-competitive practices, such as its acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp. I don't know how they're going to argue their way out of that. And in December 2021, you can see this is pretty consistent for them. Their fitness VR app Supernatural acquisition is now under review, which it should be. Amazon, of course, isn't escaping here either. In September of 2019, whether Amazon was using its market power to harm competitors, of course it is. In fact, we've already seen cases settled in Washington and a few other locations that directly point at this, including the story about the sold by Amazon thing or offered by Amazon thing, which basically made you set your price exactly the same across the board. And if you sold it for slightly more, you aren't probably going to get the deal. They had to stop that. It's very interesting. In July of 2021, of course, they're reviewing the deal with MGM. They think that could be an illegal merger, and I would say I probably agree with that, to expand even more across the sector. I think it's a foregone conclusion that the Amazon deal with MGM is likely to go through. I think we already know that the Warner Media Discovery deal is going through, and I don't know where we're going to fall on the ITM-CAA thing, but I think it actually already went through. So I don't think any of this stuff matters. I think that it's likely going to continue down this road, but we'll continue because the second page of this is really important, and it's where a lot of data lies. The article itself actually brings attention to the broader Amazon practices, including their cloud services, which is interesting considering that Microsoft is also in that business with Azure, a direct competitor. You have lots of different things. You have, Amazon Web Services, Azure Cloud, all this other stuff out there. These big tech companies are vertically integrated, and they are trying to increase that by the day. But anyway, I digress. We'll keep going. The ever-present government scrutiny makes it no wonder why Silicon Valley's biggest players have spent so much money on lobbying. Meta, Amazon, Alphabet, respectively, spend about $20 million, $19 million, and $10 million on lobbying in 2021. All those figures were up year over year, with the only one declining being Apple, who went down by 2%, as you can see in this chart here. Potentially delaying antitrust legislative efforts against big tech is, of course, the midterm elections, which we talked about before. At least they admit in this later part of the article that both parties are actually interested in this for different reasons. Keep in mind, certain big tech companies have already announced deals within a short period of time this year in 2022. So far, Alphabet has already announced 3 M&A deals as of February 6th, according to DealLogic. And if you look at these numbers here, you can see huge expansion from 2011 to 2021. In fact, in the article, it says Alphabet was involved with 116 M&A deals that were worth roughly $37.5 billion. That deal value total was lower than the comparable figure for Amazon, which is $47 billion, but higher than that of Apple, which was $31.5 billion, and Meta's $37.4 billion. You see how many billions of dollars are being spent on acquiring competitors so that they have none? It's a real problem. All of this is not to say that there will be no progress from the government's side of things. Antitrust regulatory efforts, at least for 2022. Democrats and Republicans both generally found more unity in wanting to tamp down the powers of big tech over the last couple of years, albeit for different reasons. And again, like I said, very, very fairly written here for the most part, although silencing people is a problem. That's called censorship, but I don't know how you would be for that if you were writing this article, but I digress. But if you've paid zero attention to big tech antitrust-related headlines in recent times, just know that several major probes into the cases against the alleged anti-competitive practices of Amazon, Alphabet, Apple, and Meta appear either fluid or far from done. Now, that's not always the case with the states' cases. The states' cases move forward, usually end up winning or settling, and they're doing quite well. It's the federal government who's not doing real well here, but that's for various reasons. We've talked about it, breaking up the cases in different agencies, et cetera, but I'll keep going. Only one paragraph left. So despite some discourse signaling that 2022 could be a watershed year in terms of reining in big tech, the year ahead could still end up not being the period of change antitrust advocates hoped it would be. And I agree with that last statement. I don't think it's going to be, but I'm curious what you think. Please use the comment section down below to give me your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think that we should continue to push our representatives in government to pursue these mergers and acquisitions that create these anti-competitive practices or monopolistic practices by these big tech companies and these large media interests that essentially are, destroying any kind of diversity? That's an important word here, right? Diversity. When it comes to the marketplace, because that's basically what you're doing. When you acquire your competitor or you put them in a position that they're out of business, that's monopolistic, and it creates less diversity in the marketplace, which hurts consumers, which hurts you and I with higher prices, lower quality, and less innovation. And that's ultimately the case. But hey, do you think that matters at all? Do you think that's something that we should do? Second, are you interested in this type of video? Am I spinning my wheels? These antitrust videos usually don't get the kind of viewership that I normally like to see. But if it's something that a lot of you are interested in, I will continue to do them. And boy, do we have a lot of videos coming this week. But wanted to get this one out there first. And boy, the mess of CNN doesn't seem to wrap itself up. So hopefully that video I will be able to complete this week and get it released by Thursday. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing I always do in every video and promote other independent creators here on this platform, at least here on YouTube. The large entities get the preferential treatment. The smaller independent people that they supposedly are here to protect and take care of aren't getting that. So be sure to share your favorite creators' content. Be sure to hit the like button. Make sure you make a comment because it really does increase engagement and expand the video across the platform. And finally, be a subscriber. They would certainly appreciate that. That like button, don't be allergic to the like button. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, of course, be sure to take care of yourself. Take care of others. Wash your hands, of course, because it's good hygiene. And until next time, bye. Hey there. One last quick note before I let you go. And before we make it to the end of this video, I, CultureCasino, have a brand new Teespring store. That's right. You can now go to Teespring, look up CultureCasino, or use the link in the video below, and pick out some handsome and beautiful CultureCasino merchandise with many different designs and styles and colors, many different items. I was actually surprised at all of the things that you could create, and I have some more designs and items on the way here shortly. But, if you want to support the channel in that way, there is some merch. Otherwise, here comes the ending. Thanks for visiting today. Be sure you're subscribed and hit that for alerts. Yay! Of course, like and share all of the videos that you can, as it helps with the algorithm. Have a great day.